Hello, sixth grade innovators. This is Mr. Chamberlain, and we are moving on to my favorite part of the Raspberry Pi, the little device called the Sense Hat. If you're watching this video, you've already seen how to attach your Sense Hat. You might also notice that it has a weird name. Sense just means it senses the world around it, which you'll see in a later video. And hat is an acronym. It literally means hang hardware attached on top, because you stick it on top of the Raspberry Pi. It can do so many cool things, but what we're going to start with today is a really quick video to show you something simple that it does that looks really cool. So like always, we're going to go to our programming and into Python 3. When the shell opens this time, you're going to notice something different. I realized I could make the words bigger on my Python coding, which will make it much easier for you to see when you're trying to do this on your own. Watching it on the Chromebook. So I made it a little bit bigger. Hopefully it's going to be a bit easier for us. So like always, we're going to import stuff to begin with. We're going to say from Sense Hat import Sense Hat, which just means we're going to tell the computer that it's going to use the Sense Hat. We're going to say sense equals Sense Hat. So if I ever use the word sense in my code, that's going to mean take it from the Sense Hat. And now the last line of code, believe it or not, it's super short. Sense. Oops, I knew I forgot something. I was going to make a mistake here. I added my parentheses. Forget that most times. So sense equals Sense Hat with the parentheses. See, I do it too. So where were we? Our final line of code. Sense dot show message. And I'm going to say Mr. C is so lit. Close the parentheses. So when I press F5 on this one, as always, I'll have to save it. But I'm saying, wake up the Sense Hat. If I use the word sense, it means Sense Hat. And show message, Mr. C is so lit. So if you did the coding right, we'll see what happens before I tell you. We'll save it as always. We're going to save it with your name and your period, and then whatever it is. So I'd say will period 2 message if I was Will in second hour. All right, press play, and my Sense Hat is writing Mr. C is so lit. That is pretty darn cool. It's really simple. Obviously, it's really complicated for the computer to know how to spell letters and stuff, but it wrote out our message. If you didn't see it, that's okay too. I've actually got this thing, and so do you. It's called a Sense Hat emulator. An emulator is just a like a fake version of the Sense Hat. So I just changed my code to sense emu, and let me pause this here for a second. There it is. Okay, I'm going to have it do it again. I thought something went wrong. Nothing went wrong. If I press go on the emulator, and you take a look up here, this is my fake Sense Hat. It's called an emulator. So Mr. C is so lit. Which is pretty cool, because that means you can use the Sense Hat online like this without ever actually having to use without having to actually go out and buy one. That's really cool. You just have to change hat to emulator, and then it opens up for you. So anyway, that's a really simple little video, but I'm going to add a couple things here for you so you can see the fun things you can do, because this is an LED screen on your Sense Hat. It can do the entire rainbow of colors. So let's look at adding a color. I'm just going to add a line so we can define something. You saw the code when it read out. It was in white. How about we change it to a different color? Let's change it to red. Here's how it works. I'm going to say red equals 255, O, O. What I just did is I said I want to make up a word called red. These three numbers, 25500, represent red, blue, and green in the color spectrum. So I'm really saying I want a whole bunch of red, because you can have any number from 0 to 255, and I want none of the other colors. So as long as I add one more thing in here and change it up a little bit, I can get it to be red. when the text comes out. So I actually have to change this a little bit. I'm going to get rid of my sense show message, and we're just going to add the variable message. So with me, message equals Mr. C is so lit. So if I ever use the word message, that means write that on the screen. So now, putting it all together, just like before, we're going to say sense show message. And what'll it display? It'll display the message, which is Mr. C is so lit. And we're going to say for the text color, notice I use it with a U. Color looks like it's misspelled. That's just the English version of color. We use that because Raspberry Pis are from England. So text color equals red. Now, when I press play, it's going to display the message right here. And the message is Mr. C is so lit, but the text color is going to be red. So I'll save it after I press F5. And I look on my screen, and what do you know? Mr. C is so lit. But this time it's red. We told it to be red. So now my challenge to you before you move on is mess around with the colors. Do you want to try blue? Do you want to try cyan? Do you want to try pink? Try any combination of colors here. You could do 200 and 150. I have no idea when you combine red, blue, and green what you get. But if I look on my screen of my Sense hat, that makes it it's kind of like a orangish, pinkish. Try it out. It kind of looks like, I don't know, it kind of looks like mandarin orange colored. So what I want you to do is mess around with different colors because it looks really cool when you try all these different ones. Notice I still called it red. If I noticed that was kind of a weird orange, I could call it mandarin orange. And then say, use the text color, mandarin orange. And it would do the same thing. I can call anything whatever I want. It shouldn't change anything. So give that a shot. I think you're going to like it, and try having it say some cool stuff. We'll have you record that for us afterwards.